Right now, let's talk about our top story for the day. And this involves one company who's really seeking to protect those reputations that are so delicate in our industry. We've got Grace Sharkey, one of our editorial writers, with us today on FreightWaves Now. Grace, my gal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a happy Friday for us all here at FreightWaves. And your story that came out this morning is honestly really pretty interesting. We were talking a little bit about yesterday in terms of the Colonial Pipeline, preserving its reputation and what they need to do when really stuff hits the fan. Talk to us a little bit how this company Bluewire is seeking to preserve these companies and really move them away from what they call nuclear verdicts.
Yeah. So the company Blue Wire is really focusing on helping carriers build their reputation up so that if they're ever in a situation where they're going to court over an accident or something something that might lead to a death on the road, that lawyers and plaintiffs aren't able to use what you call reptile theory, right? Like being able to sway the jury with just a few little bad reputational points in order to sway them towards a nuclear verdict. I think this is very impressive because my time in brokerage, I always tried to tell our employees, like, drivers really do want to do well in their jobs. They don't want to, be bad actors within the supply chain. They want to get things from A to B and they want to do it safely. So what they're going to do is really create a infrastructure of data that eventually will be able to connect with insurance companies so that when situations arise, they're able to point to these data sets and say, hey, look, we've been doing this all correct our whole time. Just this accident that happened in a few miles over the million miles that I've been on the road is not enough for you to judge my character in such a bad way. So I believe that over the last couple of years, we've had about 250, 300 more closer to $1 million verdicts. And that's increased immensely over the closer to like 2009, 2011, which we had like less than 30. So it's really great that there's such a strong group and team of individuals who have such great industry experience. I mean, you got Steve, you've got actors from the American Trucking Association, you've got Ellen from Women in Trucking, all of these huge players that want to combine and say, hey, listen, these truck drivers are doing their job and they're doing it really well. We need to protect them and we need to stop kind of pointing the finger at them when something bad happens. Because I don't know about you, but as a passenger vehicle, there's plenty of times where I've pushed the limit when it comes to driving around trucks. And I think some people really need to understand, especially when we have blitz weeks, that DOT is not just looking at how truck drivers drive, they're looking at how passenger vehicles drive around trucks as well. So I'm glad that they're finally getting a voice, and a voice just being supported by such strong individuals within the industry.
Absolutely, you're so right. When you're in a passenger vehicle, it can be really easy to just kind of be annoyed at the truck driver that's taking up the lane, maybe driving just at or just below the speed limit, because they have to confine themselves to those safety limitations. And in a passenger vehicle, we really can push the limits with far fewer consequences. So Blue Wire is touting this AI as software as a service. And this is kind of a first of its kind proprietary software. Talk to me a little bit about what you found out about the software and how it's being used.
Yeah, so the software system is going to come out closer to the end of the year. The first thing they want to do, though, is really build the trust with the carriers. I think a lot of times carriers see these type of systematics and they're like, okay, I don't really trust it. And is this going to be used against me? So that's not how they're trying to build this at all. First, they're going to be doing a wave of free surveys for everyone within the industry. They want to collect everyone's information and just see how everyone benchmarks themselves, right? It's kind of like if we were to fill out a survey for our own reputations, we want to figure out, or they want to figure out where exactly everyone stands and where they think that they benchmark against their fellow drivers. Then the second round is going to be something a little bit more deeper that's going to dive into really how their back offices work, how their finance side works, how are they keeping driver records, how often are they drug testing, things of that nature. And then they're going to combine all of this data and really create a methodology that's going to allow them to give them advice back, right? So instead of saying, hey, you're just a bad player, this is your F, this is your report card. Instead, they're going to come back and say, hey, listen, these are points that we think that you could really secure down better in case something does happen where you do have to go to court. And here is who I would reach out to fix that. So before they even start sharing this information or allowing for integrations, they're going to really try to help the carriers build up their reputation. Then at the end of the year, they're going to come in and actually create this platform that will be subscription based, which is one of my favorite models. So I'm glad that they're doing it that way. And carriers can come in and really see their data on one page, see how they benchmark against other carriers within the industry, and get good reporting on small steps that they can do. Then at some point in time, that's when they're going to integrate into larger CSA systems so that, the government insurance companies can really see who's behaving well and have that transparency. So a lot of times, the insurance company doesn't have any type of data on these carriers. So they really have to take whatever the police report says as an overall reputational view. But if they can have all this information, imagine the type of claims that won't even get to the point that they're going to court. So I'm really excited. I think that they're doing it in the best way possible. And they're still looking for people to join their team. They're still looking for members of the advisory board and things of that nature. So I think if there's any leaders out there that are interested, that they reach out to Steve and let them know that they're interested in getting involved.
So speaking of members of their team, in the interview that Steve did for FreightWaves, he really touted the quality of people that he has built, both on his executive team and his board. Tell me a little bit about how important it is, not only just to Steve, but kind of all around the entire transportation industry, that you can build that trust with your carriers and your clients just by building a super solid footing in that executive team and that board.
Yeah. So what I really like is if you dive into everyone's profile, they're from all different aspects of the industry. There's people on there that have had years of litigation experience. There's people who have been truck drivers. There's people who have helped build very large transportation companies. And so you get a good array of ideas. And then, he has Peter Rowe, who helped him in his last company as well, who's really the data mine behind it all. So what I just love is that they're going to be able to pull ideas from every angle that a driver might feel that they're not protected well against, whether it's a brokerage, whether it's insurance company, or it's just with different litigation services. Each member is going to be able to voice their opinion. And Stephen was very adamant that his advisory board is going to be the people that are really putting this in action and getting this news out there and really pushing the carriers to be a part of this program. Because the more people that you have involved, it's like any type of data, the more that you have flowing in, the better judgments you can make. And that's just going to really help the carriers in general have an idea of, okay, if I thought that I was, top of the line, now maybe I'm surprised by how much more improvement I can add. So when you have this huge array of members, you're going to be able to fix a lot of problems I don't think people always think about. So I'm excited, especially with all these carriers that are, really making some money right now. They're going to be investing into really cool systems, whether it's cameras or better ELD systems, telematics, things like that. And now imagine all of that information and data flowing into this type of aggregation of data. It's just going to be very in depth. So I'm really excited to see how he continues to grow it and who else he decides to bring on board.
And it is really refreshing to see people putting so much effort into protecting those drivers because they're really the backbone of the transportation industry. Really quick, Grace, people want to catch up with your work. Where should they go?
Yeah. So go to FreightWaves.com, put in Grace Sharkey. You'll be able to see all of my articles there. I am on Twitter, Instagram, all of that. I would say also I am on Transmission, our automotive supply chain podcast as well. So however you listen to podcasts, go subscribe to that. We have some really cool episodes coming up, and Sebastian's been doing really well diving into the new F350s and all of that. So yeah, go subscribe now, and we'll have some really cool episodes coming up for you guys.
Awesome. Give her a listen, give her a follow. Grace, thank you so much.